Okay, let's return to that report on Libya, where the guards and officials at major ports in the country are hoping foreign workers will soon return. You know all about the political troubles in Libya. That North African oil-producing country was one of those exempted from the OPEC decision last year to cut output.
The lifting of a long blockade at the ports helps Libya's oil output to double to over 600,000 barrels per day. The head of the Petroleum Facilities Guard deployed in the port says oil and gas network in the whole of the eastern region, from Libya's eastern and southern borders with Egypt, Sudan and Chad to the central region of Sirte, was now secured. According to him, foreign workers could return.
We invite them to come back and resume their work, and the area that we have outlined is a safe area until the outskirts of Sirte in the west is under the protection of the oil institution, and the general leadership is at Sirte's main operations room, and now all the companies are serving it.
Last month, another blockade was ended at a pipeline in western Libya, pushing production to more than 700,000 barrels per day. That's still well below the 1.6 million barrels per day Libya was producing before a 2011 uprising and subsequent armed conflict which severely disrupted output. Production in the oil crescent is still far under potential. Recent and future gains threaten to complicate efforts by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries to cut output and bolster global prices, though Libya's recovery remains at risk from political chaos and security threats. Officials have cautioned that any recovery will be gradual because infrastructure has been damaged by fighting and degraded by disuse.
The closure of the oil ports had a very big impact on the plants, which have stopped working and are also suffering due to the absence of regular comprehensive maintenance and spare parts, and so on. In addition, the Emirati company has stopped its refiner, and so all the factories have suspended their operations. We lack the budget to keep the plants working and maintain them.
Well, back to West Africa here in Gabon, where Royal Dutch Shell says its operations were now up and running as normal after it struck an agreement with staff, labor union and the government to end strike action, which started on the 12th of January. Shell workers in Gabon, where it produces about 55,000 barrels of oil per day, protested against potential redundancies from Shell's plan to sell its business units in that country. So we're going to wrap it up from Nigeria, where we're looking at a decline in country's power output. 2,200 megawatts average power per level last year was about 2,920 megawatts. That's on one hand, and that's the data from the Bureau of Statistics. Now we're looking at the price of petrol and diesel climbing because of uncertainties regarding where the currency really is, as well as imports. So let's talk to Bolanle Olutosin, who is a research analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Bolanle, good afternoon, and thanks for coming through on the program.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yes, let's start from oil, which is very sticky. So, what's the reading from you, a research analyst, regarding where we are in terms of the ability of the domestic facilities to produce enough diesel and petrol and kerosene, despite all the assurances from the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the NNPC?
Okay, so right now the landing cost for importing petrol is about 63% higher than what it used to be in 2015 compared to 2016. So what we've seen is that NNPC is actually making a loss of about 121 billion naira. And the problem here is that at the time they determined the fuel price of about of 145 naira per liter, it was in May 2016, where exchange rate was about 285 naira, 285 naira to the dollar, and oil prices were about $45 per barrel. So right now, exchange rate is about 305 in the official market and about 495 in the parallel market. Oil prices have increased to about $55 dollars per barrel. So the pricing template has been changed, and you find all marketers complaining about the fact that they're not making as much profit, or the margins are really small when it comes to importing oil. So what then needs to happen is either the oil prices or pump price has to increase, or the government needs to think about introducing subsidies in the oil market. Subsidies is not a viable option because obviously it's not factored in the budget. But however, if something is not done, then we should see fuel scarcity, which is imminent.
But I just have to keep coughing there because I understand that's something Nigerians don't want to hear. Subsidies, well, Nigerians can do with some subsidies, but I'm not sure the government wants to hear that. So things have moved from where we were. So you have this petrol issue on one hand, then we have electricity output from the national grid coming down very sharply. Put these two together and tell us where this leads us as we look at central bank monetary policy interest rate decision within the next couple of minutes, maybe in 30 minutes from now.
Okay, so the power grid reducing by about 720 megawatts. What then happens is most people have switched to the use of generators. You see demand for diesel is up. Diesel prices have gone up by about they're up about 295 naira per liter. And what then happens is manufacturers have to factor these into their prices. Producers' purchasing index would increase. It's a leading indicator for the consumer price index. And once this is increased and is factored in the consumer price index, we should see inflation rising as well. However, with the MPC stance, we expect that they would not do anything. We expect that they'll remain hawkish and leave rates the way they are at 14% to curb inflation. On the other hand, they need to do something about the current recession that we're already in. However, we feel like the only solution to bring us out of this recession has to do with fiscal and supply side policies, which we're moving towards with the new budget.
Okay, Bolanle Olutosin, thank you very much for weighing in on this very important conversation. At this point, a research analyst with financial derivatives in downtown Lagos. We thank you for your time today. Now we're heading down to that very important, we're about 6 minutes to the top of the hour when the central bank within the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes is expected to start the announcement. Godwin Emefiele and the rest of his team will be sitting down there in Abuja. We'll be crossing over to Abuja within the hour. But meantime, at 2 o'clock, we're starting the live studio. We open the studios for a panel of discussants. My colleague and anchor of Business Morning, Harriet Agbeye, is anchoring this panel discussion to preview what the considerations and the decisions of the central bank would be when that happens between 2 o'clock and 2:30. That briefing will be for about 30 minutes, and then you get Harriet to introduce her panel at 2 o'clock. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Wherever you're watching us around the world, you stick around with Channels Television, Nigeria's news leader. Bye for now.